What do we know right now at this point?
So Senate Republicans are currently behind closed doors at one of their weekly lunches. And this is an announcement that was made by Senator Mitch McConnell that he was going to offer Democrats two options. Number one, as you just mentioned, potentially to delay this debate over the debt ceiling until the end of November and to sort of pass a short-term raise of the debt ceiling right now, meaning that there would be no chance of defaulting on October 18th. The other option that McConnell said he would offer is an expedited reconciliation process. And what that basically means is that Democrats alone would be the ones to raise the debt limit, but they would be doing so on a faster process than what we would expect. Remember, usually that reconciliation process takes a couple weeks. Republicans are offering to make that process a little easier for Democrats.
Emily, of course, anxiety was building in the market, whether you looked at short-term debt of the U.S. in particular, the bills, we saw yields have been spiking there, the premium rising. We'd seen, the markets perhaps shaken to a large extent with equities. But what has shaken Mitch McConnell? What is it that has meant he has gone basically aloft with this olive branch?
Well, I think something that's important to keep in mind here is that it's not that Republican members of Congress wanted to see the U.S. get into a situation where it couldn't pay back its debts. A lot of them do realize that Americans would be hurt if the U.S. blew through the debt ceiling without making any arrangements for it. And Republicans don't necessarily want that to happen. What Republicans also want, though, is to not have their fingerprints attached to an increase of the debt limit. They want to be the party of fiscal conservatism. They don't want to be the ones that helped raise the ceiling to trillions and trillions of dollars more.
So, Emily, what does this mean? This pushes us back to November. That's only really a number of weeks. Does this create more uncertainties in those weeks, and how does this discussion really progress through then?
That's really a great question. I mean, we're at the very start of this breaking news about this potential extension. And remember, Senator Chuck Schumer, he could still take that abbreviated reconciliation. We might still be able to get this done before October 18th. But should they decide to wait until December, it means that we're looking at another full plate of things to do. We still have infrastructure to figure out, reconciliation. Remember that bill to fund the government, it only goes until December 3rd. That's going to be coming up again. So we're seeing lawmakers kick all of these priorities a short way down the road. That means when we get to the end of November, early December, we're going to be faced with a lot that Congress needs to do in a relatively short period of time.
And there's still some concern here about kicking the can down the road here as we speak. President Biden is at the White House with Jamie Dimon and a couple other bank CEOs talking over some of these issues, the same issues we're talking about today. We've seen strategists' notes out saying that they're expecting a great deal of market turmoil should a more permanent solution not be unveiled soon, Emily. Do we have any sense that there's cooperation, not just amongst the Democrats and the Republicans within Congress, but there's also cooperation here with regards to what the White House is looking for?
I mean, the White House is definitely working with Democrats in Congress on this. I think you've seen that in President Biden's repeated push, his comments today, his comments earlier this week, really laying blame at the feet of Republicans for bringing us so close to the edge of this debt limit. Of course, Republicans are blaming Democrats. Typical Washington politics here. I mean, it's going to remain to be seen how this all plays out. Will Democrats wind up raising the debt ceiling via reconciliation, as Republicans are pushing for, or will there be some way to make an agreement? I mean, at this point, you ask Republicans, what do they want to raise the debt limit? What are they willing to negotiate? And you've heard Mitch McConnell say that they don't have an ask. They just don't want to be the ones to put their yes votes on raising the debt limit long term.